Alright, so today I'm going to try to make old Henry Ford proud and become a one-man assembly line. Oh, sorry, a one-man and one machine assembly line. Alright, real quick before we get into it, I want to get this part out of the way. I'm adding a few more sets of plans to my website, the bar stool and the liquor cabinet. I'm also down to the end of my first run of my SBMT merch. So I'm trying to get all of this old stuff out. So since this is the biggest shopping weekend of the year, I'm going to do a little 10% discount on everything on my website. It's gonna run through midnight on Sunday night. And that's just to kind of celebrate Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Sunday for being Sunday. But of course, to unlock these great deals, you're gonna need a top secret password. So what is the discount code password?
The secret password is password.
Okay, I guess we're keeping it easy for you. The other thing is that Inventables, the company that makes the X-Carve, which you'll be seeing in this video, they're doing a big sale this weekend as well, and there should be some pretty good savings. Click on the links in the description and they'll have all the details on their website. But if you've been thinking about getting into CNC, this might be a good time to do that. Okay, I'm done with the sales pitch. Hopefully that wasn't too annoying. So I was tasked with making 50 of these. What are these? That's a good question. They are spin trays. So a machinist, his name's Anthony, he contacted me and asked if I could make 50 of these spin trays. And he makes a bunch of different things, but one of them are these really awesome spinning tops. So this is actually a little organizer for those, and it has this space where he inserts a piece of glass, and it's actually a spot for you to spin your top. Check out his website, I'll link it in the description. He makes some really awesome stuff. So making 50 of anything is a pretty big task, and not something that I usually do. But I thought of it as a fun kind of introduction into a manufacturing-esque situation. And of course, with something like this, being able to automate part of the process is key, and that's where my X-Carve comes into play. So I was given the SVG files for the spin trays, and I was able to directly import those into Easel. And at that point, all I had to do was adjust the depth of cut, lay them out how I thought worked best for me, and I was pretty much ready to go. And once the computer work was done, it was just a matter of getting the lumber milled and ready to go. I also decided to fill any knots or defects at this point rather than worrying about it once it was already cut out. I did realize before I started cutting was that having the machine completely cut out each spin tray was going to significantly increase the amount of time that was spent on the CNC. So instead I had the X-carve cut maybe like a 1/4 inch down around that perimeter. Then I would finish the cut on the bandsaw and then flush all the sides up with my router and a flush trim bit. This process added a bit more manual labor, but saved a ton of time over the course of all 50. And once I had them fully shaped, I would do a bit of sanding to get them nice and smooth, and then go to work on the finishing details, which included a chamfer along all the top edges, as well as a small rabbet on the bottom side. So the first thing I did was cut the rabbet, and this should have been pretty straightforward, but of course I didn't have a router bit small enough for this process. Instead, I improvised a little and I buried a straight bit into a piece of MDF, and I set it so that it stuck out 1/8 of an inch, and I was able to get that rabbet around the entire perimeter of each tray. Once that was done, I used a countersink to chamfer the edge on the 6 small holes on the top. And as you can see at this point, I started to kind of develop this quasi-assembly line process where, as the CNC was working, I was able to do all these finishing steps. And once I finished the trays that I was on, the CNC was usually just about done with the 5 that it was working on. And once this process was kind of moving, I was able to knock out all 50 pretty quickly. Finally, the last thing I had to do was to chamfer that outside edge and the edge around the spinning area. So if any of you are actually counting, you'll notice that there's only actually 30 there. I get, well, 29, 30, and not 50. And that's because I actually already did 20 of them and shipped those out before I shot this video. But 50 just sounded better for the video title. And it's not a total lie because I did actually make 50 of them. Alright, so thank you for coming along as I just barely dipped my toe into the world of manufacturing. Even calling it manufacturing seems like a bit much, but whatever. Again, links to everything I mentioned at the beginning of the video in the description. Check it all out. And thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. So if you're in the US, have an awesome Thanksgiving. And if you're anywhere else in the world, I hope you have a really good Thursday.